Urjit Patel today took over from Raghuram Rajan as the 24th Governor of the Reserve Bank of India. As the author of the Rajan regime's inflation targeting goal, the new boss of Mint Street is expected to remain watchful on inflation. He will be the first governor to set rates along with a monetary policy committee, and his first task may well be laying down conventions for the new committee. One of the key concerns for the street has been the issue of liquidity deficit in the system, and despite his rather hawkish stance on easing policy, Urjit Patel as Deputy Governor did indicate he will follow through on what Rajan has promised on liquidity.
It was announced in April that we would eliminate the structural deficit. We had not given a timeline. And the reason for that are the factors that the governor mentioned, that there are a fair number of transitory issues also taking place. And in the back of our mind, it was a 1 to 2 year program. And I think we need that flexibility for the variety of reasons that you mentioned. And also for the fact that we have to make it congruent with the stance of monetary policy. It's not an unconstrained decision that was taken, but the path is well set that we want to eliminate that deficit, and we will calibrate it in the least disruptive and most beneficial manner.
Governor Patel will also be watched for his handling of the bad loan problem and for his ability to secure more capital for public sector banks from the government. Also, with a bunch of new small banks in and rapid growth in loans to consumers and against property, the governor may well have to watch for bubbles very closely. Inevitably, he will have to manage expectations on rate cuts and guide how serious he is about getting to the 4% CPI inflation goal. Urjit Patel has the clear advantage of being an inside man. Also, as someone who has worked with agencies like the IMF and BRICS countries. At home, he has worked with a bunch of infrastructure committees. As an economist, he has thought and written extensively on inflation, interest rates and deficits. But impressive as his credentials are, so are the challenges facing the central bank. In Mumbai, Latha Venkatesh.
In fact, we spoke to a battery of experts, including Urjit Patel's mentor at the Yale University, T.N. Srinivasan, to find out what exactly should be the new governor's focus.
Banking system to do things which inherently it's not capable of doing.
Yep.
And the second, put on the Reserve Bank roles of regulation on the bond market side, etc., which is also not desirable.
Yes.
We may be in greater difficulty than we are now. So this is one thing I wanted to caution Urjit Patel as he moves along in this direction to make sure that we don't slip in this area.
I think this whole argument of should the governor focus on growth or on inflation control is an evergreen one. I think it's going to go on forever. I do think that there is some room for optimism because if you look at the food prices, they are on a downward swing, and in the last 1 year, food prices have been the one category that has been responsible for slightly higher inflation than what maybe all of us were expecting. So I do think that with the food prices coming down, with the rainfall having been fairly good, and with the global scenario ensuring that oil prices may not also go up much, I do think that the RBI Governor, Dr. Patel, will have some room to cut rates or at least ease off the liquidity. Because also remember that come October, the FCNR redemption is going to put some liquidity stress on the banking system. So I think he will have to alleviate that, and will he alleviate that by cutting rates or by expanding liquidity?
So a lot of things need to happen, both especially from the government and also from the RBI. Term structure of interest rates we're still looking for. So we've got to make sure that when we do this transition of large exposure monitoring, etc., that there is a proper capital market in place which can take on the load.
Well, that's the end of an era and a beginning of another.